Welcome to the Salt Lake Fitness Podcast, Salt Lake Pod for short. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy. And this is your space for salty stories, sweaty workouts, and improving crew sanity at sea. Hi, guys, and welcome to episode 3 of the Salt Lake Pod. My name's Christy.
And I'm Nat.
And today we are very excited to have Ed Thomas, the founder of Gym Marine and Paragon Studios, joining us. He has been shaping onboard fitness for the past decade and has been involved with some of the largest and most prestigious yachts in the world. If you're lucky enough to have a crew gym or a guest gym on your vessel, I can probably guarantee Ed has been involved. So welcome, Ed. We're so happy to have you.
Super intro. Thank you, Christy. Episode 3 as well. Goodness me, you guys have been busy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're our first guest. So this is very exciting.
Fantastic. Well, look, shaping crew gyms, but also shaping my own physique with Salt Lake Fitness, which, I'm eternally glad for that you guys convinced me to, get high on my own supply, so to speak. So, let's delve into that.
Well, I think it would be amazing to start on before you were an entrepreneur. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you were in the yachting industry yourself.
I was, yes. I wouldn't say it was the most successful yachting career, but it was a good start. Gosh, 2011, I think I went to Antigua to try and find my first job, and I got way too into the Caribbean kid culture. I think I arrived in sort of October, November when there were no boats there. It was a terrible idea to arrive then, and got really stuck into sort of island life, not wearing shoes a lot and all that sort of stuff, and. By the time all the yachts turned up, I thought to myself, well, I don't know whether I really want a job on a boat anymore. And I was mowing the lawn at the yacht club and earning cash in hand. I was doing a bit of charter deck handing on a tiny sailing boat, which used to take American tourists out into the sunset, and then we'd feed them beer and fruit.
Perfect.
And then pretend we'd seen the green flash, and then come back and take tip money off them. It was the best job in the world. But yeah, after about, I think I made it jobless until about March. And then finally someone took pity on me and offered me a job on a 70-meter motor yacht, which was an absolute baptism of fire, a 70-meter protection. And it was such a change for me. I went on board and immediately was shoved into doing the night shift. So I was on my own, rinsing the boat top to bottom, 11 o'clock at night. The night shift. So I was put on from 11 o'clock until 5. Rinsing the boat with a head torch on my own. I had zero idea what I was doing, to be perfectly frank with you. And they put my lunch in the fridge, and I'd have that at about 3 a.m. on my own. And there was one other crew member who'd be up, who was the engineer who was on nights, and he was a sort of big Aussie dude. He was mental. So I'd try and stay out of the interior at all costs because he was totally mad. So I did that for 3 months, and then after 3 months, they thought they'd let me outside a bit. And actually, this is one of my best ever stories. So
I'm ready.
Lock in. So for 3 months, I hated the night shift. I hated yachting. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I go out onto the transom, and they're like, oh, come out. You can do some afternoons. So I'm there in my epaulets. And back at school, there was this guy in my maths class, and he was quite smelly, and he was a little bit, he wasn't very cool. We used to be quite nasty to him. Anyway, I'm standing on the transom, first day out in the sunshine, and this kid walks out of the tender garage, barefoot in his swimming shorts, and he looks at me and I look at him.
No.
And he goes, what are you doing here, Ed?
No.
I said, I've got a job on this boat and I'm loving it, and I've been on the night shift for 3 months and they've just let me out and it's absolutely amazing. What are you doing here? He goes, this is my boat. I'm like, oh my God. And the floor could not have swallowed me up fast enough. So it was a bit of chit chat back and forth, how have you been, what have you been doing, yada, yada, yada. And he went, look, you wouldn't mind getting me a Coke, would you? And I promise you, that is the best piece of advice always be nice to every single person you meet, because you never know where they're going to show up. And for me, that was a baptism of fire. Anyway, long and short of it is I didn't pass my probation, didn't stay on the boat, was kicked off in Fort Lauderdale. So there we go.
And that was the extent of Ed's yachting career.
It was a tough start, ladies, if I'm totally honest. Really rough.
3-month night trip. If you're on nights for 3 months, that's just brutal. That's actually diabolical behavior.
It was a brutal program. So there were 3 sets of owners, all brothers, and they just used the boat non-stop. And it was hard. But anyway, I came back to the UK, licked my wounds, sort of was thinking about what I was going to do. I was like, oh, I don't know whether I really want to do this. And then a friend of mine who had been on my day skipper course rang me up and said, look, I've got a lovely job on a private 55-meter fed ship, and we're just going to cruise up and down the coast of the USA for the summer. And it was just completely different. It was the most amazing boat to work on. I was on there for a fair amount of time, and it was just great. So yeah, I was glad I went back, but it was touch and go for a while.
Isn't that crazy how Christy and I have spoken in our past 2 episodes about the types of vessels you work on and the kind of crews you can get involved with and the people that take you under their wing and mentors and everything like that. How crazy is the difference in experience that you had from your first boat to the second boat? Like, it made your first boat, you're like, I can see it, like, in the way you explained your story. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
shit, excuse my language, but you're like, this can let you go to hell. And you get in your second boat, you're like, this is amazing. I want to be here.
I mean, having worked on both sides of the sort of, I don't know what we call it, the gangway as a supplier and as crew, it's really obvious, especially as a supplier, what the culture on board a boat's like from the way that we deal with the crew. And the culture at the end of the day comes top down from the owner, and then it is kind of reflected by the captain, and then that's passed down to the crew. And as suppliers, we know pretty much immediately what the culture likes on board from how the crew deal with us as suppliers, especially when things are tough. There are some yachts that we've worked with out there where it's just unbelievable how considerate and polite and lovely the crews are, even like when really they have every right to not be, because things have gone wrong in the middle of a season. It's inconvenient. The owner's unhappy. And I think that that's such an important trait, like, to learn as crew. You're only as good as your suppliers. So you've got to treat them nice. And that's how we run the business here as well. So it's really important.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I'm really interested to know how your journey from being a, crew member on board a boat transitioned into being an entrepreneur, business owner. Was it something that happened when you were in yachting that you saw there was a gap in the market? How did your, interest in the fitness world kind of grow?
Sure. So I wouldn't say I was quite interested in fitness, but I wouldn't say it was a massive passion of mine. On the fed ship I worked on to start with, a couple of us would use the gym equipment on the sun deck and it was kind of guest gym equipment, but we'd use it off charter. And it was kind of one of those setups where you had the jacuzzi at the back, and then a sort of glass panel, and then some gym equipment underneath the hard top, and then a sun lounger up forward. The problem was that the gym equipment was constantly exposed to the elements, so everything would rust. And one of my jobs as the junior deckhand at the time was polish the dumbbells. So every night we'd get these dumbbells. These things would go totally orange. So I'd sit up there after the guests had gone to bed, polishing them with flits and all these awful, like, abrasive compounds. And little did I know that they were chrome plated. So we'd be just polishing off the chrome and exposing the mild steel underneath, which just hates salt. But, it took a long time to work that out. And then we'd cling film them, and then we'd come back the next day and they'd just be orange again. So that was sort of one, I guess, trigger point, although at the time I didn't know about it. And then the second one happened in Italy when we were in Genoa for a sustained period of time. And basically the yacht next door had a load of gym equipment on the sun deck, and they used to chuck it out every season, it seemed, because it was rusty. I was thinking to myself, hang on a minute. Either someone needs to make better gym equipment, or these gym equipment sellers are onto a freaking winner. These guys are turfing it out. And then it was catalyzed by, I was on a 45-meter Heason, which I wouldn't recommend either. It was a tough job. I had to share a cabin with 2 girls.
What?
And all the other guys are sure, like, that must be the best thing ever. No, it's the worst thing ever.
Did you get to use the bathroom in the morning?
Nah. The bathroom was chaos. It was like a war zone in there. I know you're in your cabin at the moment. I'm sure your bathroom is absolutely spotless. But these two, it was challenging. And also, I snored quite badly. And the girl that slept opposite me had this enormous stuffed animal called Jake. And she used to just wallop me with Jake all the time.
I don't believe it.
Yeah. It got to a point where I was actually scared to sleep in this boat. It was terrible. So, yeah, Anyway, so that was going on. And then long and the short of it was we went to Martinique to get lifted onto one of those transporter vessels. And the boat got lifted up the side. And then there was a ballast tank on the other side. And as the boat was being hovered over the deck, the guy dropped the remote and it cut through the strops and the boat fell 5 meters onto the deck of the container ship, put a huge hole in the keel. And we were all evacuated off the boat immediately off the big ship. We sat ashore in Martinique for sort of 7-8 hours with no passports or anything. It was all on board, watching the ship, which was listing so badly because of the ballast on one side, being righted very slowly.
Yeah.
And then after that, they welded a concrete box onto the bottom and shifted it back to Genoa. And that was it. We were in Genoa for like 10 or 11 months. And the captain at that point said, guys, look, you're still going to be paid, but there's not really much work for you to do here apart from empty the black water tank, which was also my job. And, you know, what are you going to do? Learn the language, learn an instrument, you know, do that kind of thing. So I thought, okay, well, I've been thinking about this gym equipment thing. I had a friend of mine who worked for an agency at the time who was keen to do a business together. Guy, who's my business partner, Jim Marine, and yeah, we thought we'd give it a go. So it was an opportune moment to do it because I didn't have much else on.
What an incredible story. Like, what a great background to coming into something that you weren't necessarily passionate about before. I'm not saying that you didn't enjoy fitness before, but coming from something, like you said, it wasn't your first like priority, and then just noticing something that needed to be fixed, having a solution for a problem is pretty epic. The whole background of what Paragon Studio is and what Jim Marine is catering to the super yacht side is quite high value. So good on you and your partners. That's pretty
Thank you. Well, Christy's done what is kind of a really good piece of work, I'd say, when you start a business as crew. You know, start something while you're still on board. And that's what you guys have done so successfully with Salt Lick. It's kind of a really good way to do it because at the end of the day, you're not taking the plunge immediately into complete financial risk. You're still able to, you know, have a side hustle, which I think is a great thing to do. Obviously, if any of my staff are listening, hopefully there's no one upstairs, please don't have side hustles. Works for me. Don't do that.
Sorry, me.
Have you read the moonlighting clause in your contract?
Yeah.
No, there's no one. But yeah, it is a really good way to start. And I was lucky in that sense. So I set up a website, I set up a Facebook page and put it out there and just sort of did some posting. And I was very fortunate in as much as over the summer of 2014, Boat International contacted me, a guy called Brian, who was very forward thinking. And he said, look, we're doing a thing where we'd like to support young entrepreneurs coming into the yacht scene, and we love what you're doing. So we're going to give you a couple of tickets to the Monaco Yacht Show, and we're going to give you some free editorial in Dockwalk and in Boat International and the design issue. And now, knowing how much they charge, it was like 40 grand's worth of free advertising. I'm not really sure why they did it. But anyway, it completely springboarded the business. And it gave me the sort of the confidence that what we were doing was along the right track. And then going to the Monaco Yacht Show with some imagery and some ideas and some concepts, it allowed me to sort of, I guess, validate the idea. And then, you know, we walked away from that yacht show with a couple of very strong leads for new build yacht gym designs, and the rest was history. And I quit my job. But, you know, I'm very thankful to the captain and the crew on board my last yacht for allowing me to have that opportunity to start something while I was still sort of being incubated by the owner and the boat. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long has Jim Marine been around for now?
So 2014, I think we're coming on for 12 years.
That is incredible. And, you know, there obviously was a gap in the market or your product was needed, because the amount of vessels that now have used Jim Marine for crew gyms, guest gyms, you know, equipment on board is unbelievable.
Thank you. We need to start refitting some of these gyms.
Yes.
I think at the last count, we'd done 78 or 80 of the top 100 largest yachts on Earth, which was a good stat, but obviously many, many hundreds and hundreds more. And the thing is it is a niche, which I will always say is nice with an H in it, but that's another thing. It is a niche. There's not really anyone else doing it sort of seriously. There's not really space in the market for that. It's kind of it's a very, very small business. And sort of that's a nice segue into why, for me, Paragon Studios come about after, you know, quite a few years, because ultimately the business doing designs and selling other people's stuff is great, but to own and control the supply chain and have your own brand, which you call the shots on, and you can create a legacy for yourself, is something which I'd always wanted to do, and that's sort of, I guess, accelerated massively in the last few years, which is cool.
Absolutely. And the aesthetic side of Paragon is, really enticing, especially for the yachting industry. Everything is so beautifully made,
What,
and
you mean this old thing?
look at the background. It's
There you go.
stunning. Yeah. Shameless plug.
If we can't plug, what can we do, Christy,
Oh, absolutely. And if your guest gym doesn't have Paragon equipment, then you're doing something wrong. That's for sure.
Well, that's entirely true. That's entirely true. We're doing our best.
I actually just recently saw a post from your account, Jim Marine, about the Paragon Studio. Like, it's almost like a drawer that comes out, and it can be on like tenders or chase boats, which is so epic, because you have like this drawer that stores the dumbbells and the medicine ball and the different like equipment. How cool would that be together on a chase boat? So chase boat captains can also do little gym equipment,
Yeah.
workout before.
Well, that's a product which actually has been developed for the hotel business. So we're rolling them out into hotel rooms. But we want to do a yacht version, which is kind of aimed at, I guess, semi-custom boats and flybridge motor yachts, as well as chase boats, where if there's a boat that's not got a big enough space for a full gym inside, we can create these custom inserts for different drawer sizes, and curate a little setup for, sun deck yoga or free weights or whatever. And we're slowly starting to build a library of content at the moment, where someone can scan the QR code and then they'll have access to a library of fitness and wellness routines, all of which take place within the space of a yoga mat. So yeah, that's really, really exciting. We've got some big ideas for that plan. It's sort of in the works. We're deploying in 100 Soho House rooms at the moment, which is quite exciting. And working with a number of other big brands, Mandarin Oriental and a few others. But yeah, yachting's a big target for us, and the idea is to sort of aim it at the San Lorenzos, the Ferrettis, the Sunseekers, etc. But if the big boats want to buy one for just kicks, then yeah, cool.
Yeah, fair one.
You won't say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're very thankful to have Jim Marine within the yachting industry, and it's very clear why Salt Lick and Jim Marine bonded. Obviously, it is providing what we want crew members to be able to work out anywhere, anytime, no matter the space or equipment, and Jim Marine makes that happen for crew and guests on board. So we have been in contact for some years now, Ed.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've come on as a client with us for a while, as Tom has been your trainer. How's that experience been for you?
Well, I've stuck around for over 150 of his workouts, so you tell me.
My gosh, that is saying something. I try to avoid most of Tom's workouts.
He's very, very good. The good thing is the first thing that's really great is that he allows me not to spend too much time filling in the form, which I'm very bad at, which he's stopped chasing me for after a while, and we just chat on WhatsApp, which is exactly what I need. So he's very understanding of the unique needs of the client, which I think is very, very good. And yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like with the thing that's really important to me about fitness is actually I don't really go to the gym or train to spend time with other people. It's during my week, to put it in perspective, I'm up at 4:40 every morning. I leave the house at 5 for 5:30 gym. I'll do an hour and then sit in the spa for an hour or two, start my emails, and then get into work sort of just before 9. And from that moment in time, I have zero time for myself until I close my eyes, because we've also got 2 children. So the time for me being in the gym is so important. It's just me and my headphones. I won't go to classes. I don't like run clubs. I don't like any of that. I'm just, as a busy entrepreneur and parent, you spend a lot of your time fighting to spend time on your own, which is quite an unusual shift after being in yachting and spending so much time constantly surrounded by people at all moments. And what's nice about the Salt Lick program is that it is as hands-on or hands-off as you want it to be. So if I needed to chat to Tom every 10 minutes, he'd be there. But otherwise, it's, look, this is what we're doing this week. Contact me on Friday. Let me know how you've got on, and we'll mix things up. And I absolutely love that. For me, it's just perfect. And I love the app. because it gives you the numbers to follow, which is kind of what we do in work as well. So yeah, it's been for me the perfect solution to my own lifestyle, which I think is great.
That's pretty cool, actually. I mean, I can follow what you say about Tom, because I've also trained with Tom. Before I started being a trainer for Salt Lake Fitness or anything to do with Salt Lake Fitness, I actually trained with them, and they were my personal trainers. And I found them at a time when I was like, oh, same as you, busy on a busy schedule. I'm surrounded by so many people, so I don't get that space and time for myself. And then I was like, I just don't want to schedule my own workouts. I don't want to know how to train anymore. I'm on charter. I need someone to give me some feedback and insight. And Tom was like that. I'd be like, Tom, what am I doing this week? He'll schedule the workout. Absolute death workouts.
He's hardcore.
So now, at what point do I get recruited to be a Salt Lake trainer? Because obviously Tom's trained you and then recruited you. Like, how do you make the switch? Tell me all about it.
I don't think you've got enough time for that.
Well, only if you want to wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning, then you'll have enough time, just enough time to schedule clients. No,
Okay.
so basically what happened was I've always been so passionate and motivated surrounding fitness. It's a very big thing with like being in tune with my body and my mental health, especially in yachting. Like you say, you're always around so many people. You don't get a space and a time for yourself. So when you go do a workout or you go do a movement or you go for a run, you just yourself and your thoughts. Maybe you don't be with your thoughts, but at the back of your mind, chuck your headphones in and you're just listening to music, right? Just your own mental space. And Tom came at a time when I was very busy on charter. I just stepped into my first second officer role and I was very stressed. So I didn't have the time and the capacity to schedule my own workouts. So he did that. And then it got to a point where I think I was just growing on Instagram a bit on my my fitness page that I had. I was like doing this challenge where I'd post something about what I would work and my like fitness regime for a couple of days. I think it was 30 days, and I was just posting every day. And then my account like started getting more and more views and like 100 views and like more followers. And then I was talking to Christy and Tom, and I was like, why don't we like kind of mesh and you become an ambassador? And I was like, oh my gosh, 100%. I was so keen because I'm so in love with the vision and the way that Salt Lake Fitness run their vibes and their passion for people and crew sanity, which is a huge thing for me, is your mental health in yachting.
Yeah.
And I then, from being an ambassador, kind of got to know Tom and Christy a bit more. Tom's still training me at this point, and I'm going at it. He's training me and he's giving me Murphs. I'm doing Murphs on a yacht with a rowing machine. Like, it's absolute crazy.
So what I'm getting from this is it's quite a long road to becoming a Salt Lake trainer. You do have to put in the hours.
I don't know. I think it depends because
Careful what Kevin would say. The boss is just up there.
oh no, you've got the boss up there.
Yeah, she's up there. Is she down there for you?
Right next to me.
Oh, weird.
You guys are both on one side for me.
Are we just doing one of these right now?
Yeah.
No, I think it depends because I didn't have my personal training qualification and I never thought I'd ever want to be that or do that. I always thought fitness as like a me kind of thing, like how you say you go in the morning doing it for yourself. And then I never ever trained with people. I actually hated training with people. I found it very like disturbing. I'm like, my sets are my sets and I must max on this and be by myself. And then it got to a point where I started training with people on the cruise. We'd go for a run because I'd always run by myself. And I started running with the crew members. And I was like, this is actually kind of enjoyable. I kind of like it. And then they're asking me for like workouts. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I pretended what I was doing. I was like, yeah, do some squats and some push-ups and it's great. And we'll all do this together. And then I was like, wait, let's actually start doing proper workouts. And we try to do some EMOMs and AMRAPs and we can do some HIIT workouts. And then through that and with Salt Lake Fitness on the side and becoming an ambassador, we started speaking about like, how can I train with you guys? How can we build this? And what's our vision and what's your vision that we can mesh to make this a whole big thing? So that's my whole wine story and how to get there. But it's not that long if you just want to become a personal trainer. You study.
I don't think I'm close. And I'll tell you why. This is quite a sad story. when I moved to London, I started training at Third Space, which I'm obsessed with. I went 217 times last year.
No.
It's
Yeah,
incredible.
the guy who runs the fitness programming said, Ed, that's not a gym membership, that's a residency. You should be paying.
You
I'm
basically
paying,
did it.
I'm paying you £325 a month. This is not
I
acceptable.
know.
Anyway, I was going to the gym, and anyway, this guy I knew from school, he's like, "Oh, I go to that gym as well. We should train together." I was like, "Yeah, all right, okay." So I met up with him a couple of times. As I said, I just want to be on my own, headphones in.
Yeah.
Anyway, he kept being like, "Let's train, let's do this. Come on, let's do that. Let's do shoulders, let's do arms." And I'm like, "How do I say to this guy, I don't really want to train with him, but like without upsetting him because I really like him. And I've just moved to town. I don't want to alienate him, but I just want to be like." I don't want to go to the gym with you, mate. I just want to be on my own, but then
my
also
thing.
not sound weird. It really, really tough. Anyway, he got the hint in the end.
What did you do? Go away.
And now
We played. It's fine. We played darts together the other night.
Oh, gosh.
It's all good. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's very similar for people. The gym is an outlet, and it's the time that you use to show up for everything else, in your day, whether it's your work or your family or.
I think a real mental switch that I made, I'm sure a lot of people do make when they sort of get the bug a bit, is where you actually start sort of craving it and you're fitting it in over and above other stuff. Like there's a great reel that I keep seeing on Instagram, which is like there's a guy in the gym. It could be me. And it's like, this guy has 600 unread emails, missed 3 meetings and stuff. And he's there just doing this. Like, that's it. Like, sometimes I'm like, why am I in here? I shouldn't be in here. I've got so much to do, but I just love it. I need to be here.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get there.
Yeah, and it's very similar to those yachties that are out there that are, back-to-back charters. They don't have the time, and I promise you, once you do get that bug like you were talking about, Ed, it will help with everything. It will give you more energy, if anything, if done right.
Yeah, you're right. Well, all credit to you guys for helping me with that. Thank you.
So, Ed, your fitness journey, do you mind telling the viewers how much weight have you lost since you started? Because it's a tremendous amount.
A significant amount. So I think at my largest, which I attribute to just children, really.
The kids.
Children, and yeah, I think I was just shy of 100 kilos, and I'm now anywhere between 77 and 79. So something between 20 and 22 kilos, I'd say, on any given Sunday. Yeah, and I think that's it. Has been a big slog. I just, it's just the first thing that Tom said to me in our initial kickoff call was consistency is everything. And I've never forgotten that because it is about consistency. And you have to get to the point where it is just a non-negotiable. And now I get guilty. If I haven't done my 3 a week, I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
There's only been like 2 weeks, I think, since I started where I haven't physically been able to do 3 a week.
Yeah. And now it's part of your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But it's really true. Like, sorry to interrupt you. It's really true. If you have that consistency, you'll find that in the beginning, it's really tough to make it happen. You're like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this. Consistency is key because it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle. So if you do something repeatedly for 21 days, you don't miss a day. I promise you, after 21 days, you're going to be like, oh, I was meant to go and run this morning. I woken up and now I don't know what to do. You want to do it because your body's now used to doing that same thing. And that's when it's like, okay, I've had that 45 minutes, 35 minutes for myself and just for myself. And you actually crave, I think, the thing for yourself. And not just that, you'll have this like huge dopamine and endorphin like release. It's crazy.
The first bit is so hard because it's really awful because you're really unfit. And then you don't see any results whatsoever. And it's actually really inconvenient because you've spent the last 10 years being a fat bastard and you haven't made any time for fitness. So suddenly the time you could be in the pub, you're in the gym, it hurts and you hurt for days and also you just see no benefit from it. So getting over the initial hump's really, really, really important. I, at the same time as getting into training, discovered that I really liked being in a sauna. And in a steam room. And also that was really useful for me because actually there's 2 parts for this. First and foremost, I really, really got into like highly caffeinated pre-workout, which makes you feel amazing. So then you're in the gym and you're like, I don't want to do anything else apart from just gym. So that's great. So that replaced the drinking and the nights out. And then and then you got the sauna afterwards. It's like a reward. So it's kind of like the way they train dogs. Yeah, you put the reward at the end.
Yes.
And a film full of stimulant. No. and
love
and yeah,
that.
once you've got the reward at the end, if you're not seeing the reward down here, at least you can sit in the sauna and you're not with your kids.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. Can we cut that bit? Don't
Poor
know.
children.
I love my kids so.
Hey, not with the kids. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they're not old enough to watch podcasts, so it's fine.
What? Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
No, it's so true though. I feel the same way, you know, when it's like a hike. The hike's so tough, but when you get to the top and you get that view, it's just
Yeah.
so worth it, unbelievable. And knowing that's at the end is always a little bit more rewarding for sure.
Who'd have thought that doing really hard stuff would make you feel really good at the end, huh?
Yeah, it's
That's
because
it.
you have that the success. You know, when you have a checklist and you check off a task, the next task is done. It's that feeling of like success and achievement that makes you want to do it the next time. So if you
Yeah.
don't have that, that's the motivation behind it. Anyway, that's what I've read. I don't really know what I do. I don't know. That's what I've seen. But I actually have a question, which I think is going to be quite good for other people starting a fitness journey. When
Mhm.
you first start and you're finding it incredibly tough, okay? So it was hard in the beginning, really shit, you don't want to do it, right? But my question to you is, how did you get through those really tough days?
Yeah.
Or what was your motivation behind it? Or what was your thought? What was like the thing you said to yourself, okay, I really hate this right now, but I'm going to do this because. And then you got through that to get to a place where you are now. You want to go every day or all the time, 3 times a week.
Sure. There's a lot to unpack here. Anyway, yes, to answer your question, I do think that, as we've touched upon a little bit, it's about the element of the rewards. And certainly once you start seeing some changes physically, and people start commenting and being like, oh, you're actually doing quite well. Like you're actually sticking with this. You're doing it. It does perpetuate a sort of a cycle of wanting to do it more because you're starting to see results. Adding in for me as well, I had, when I was large, I also suffered really badly with rheumatoid arthritis. So I had sacroiliitis, really terrible lower back pain, and it would manifest itself particularly while I was sleeping. And I'd end up waking up in the morning sort of at 2, 3 o'clock, unable to get back to sleep. I'd have to lie on the floor. I'd have throbbing pains through my arms. It was really, really bad. And I did 7 years on some quite heavy duty anti-inflammatories. And I tried, 5 or 6 different types. None of them really helped. And at the end, I went into the arthritis clinic, where I was definitely the youngest person in there by about 40 years. It was great. Me and all the older ladies, we'd sit there, we'd compare anti-inflammatories. I'd sell a bit on the side now. And then the doctor just said, look, if these aren't working, we're going to have to put you on an injection, which is going to remove some of your inflammatory process. It's got quite a few side effects. You'll probably be on it for the rest of your life. So you need to consider that quite seriously. I was like, I don't really feel like I should be doing that, to be honest. And, fast forward, 22 kilos is the same weight as the British Airways hold bag allowance. If you can imagine strapping your Rimowa, you've definitely got a Rimowa, to your body and walking around with it all day attached to your body, can you imagine how tired you'd be? And like how sore everything would be, your poor joints. So I had that here. And as you start to lose it, you're like, oh my God, I feel incredible. I feel like I've had literally a weight lifted from my shoulders, and it wasn't my shoulders, it was around here. And I think that perpetuates a real passion for doing more, because it was like actually trying to solve sleep and trying to sleep through the night and not be in pain and all the rest of it. And with better sleep comes more energy, and with more energy comes more results at work, and dare I say it, better marriage, better parenting, better leadership in the office. It's just all around it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's funny because after a year of hardcore weight loss, I went back to the arthritis clinic for my yearly MRI scan, and I had my scan and then waited a month, and then the doctor rang me up and said, Mr. Thomas, come to give you your results. I said, okay, go on then. He said, you've got 0 inflammatory markers in your body.
Yeah.
We don't understand. We think something's wrong. I said, well, funny you should say that. I said, I've lost a load of weight and now I'm sleeping through the night and I've stopped taking my medicine. He said, well, if you've stopped taking your medicine, you've got no markers and you've got no pain, then you've cured yourself of your arthritis. So we're going to discharge you from the hospital.
That's unreal.
I said, doctor, Why didn't you tell me I was fat 7 years ago? It would have saved the NHS so much money, but they can't do that because it's very insensitive. So yeah, that's why.
Well, that's what a
A story.
yeah, incredible story in the way that you've come back on your health. I think that's very motivational and quite inspiring. And I hope that people can see that it's not just for aesthetic looks to be a certain way. It's more to it than just aesthetics. It comes down to, like you said, your arthritis. Your arthritis was cured. Your inflammatory markers have decreased, actually gone to zero. I
Yeah.
mean, that's actually beyond belief, though, because a lot of people don't realize what movement, and also I think you're probably eating healthily or eating better.
Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think when you start moving like this and you're putting your body under the stress, you also have this mindset that you might as well pair this with good eating or good fuel,
Definitely.
because that's going to
Look,
make you also feel better.
what you put in has got to be good. You're right. Tom and I talk a bit because I do an in-body scan every week, and I will look at like visceral fat level,
Mhm.
which is obviously so important with the amount of fat that's around your organs. At the end of the day, that's what's going to cause autoimmune diseases later on in life. I think I've gone down from 6 to 2.
Wow.
And 2 is like unscarily low level, which
That's
is
very
amazing
good.
for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's cool. I mean, I that's become quite a thing for me. I quite enjoy sort of looking at the stats and tracking, and like in the same way I do with work, with fitness
Yeah.
fitness is a great thing for that because there's lots of numbers involved.
Yeah. I think everyone in this day and age loves the stats, especially yachties, you know? We love
Yeah,
all the data. We want it all on a perfect spreadsheet. It's beautiful. But it does sound quite cliche, but it really is all connected, right? You start losing this weight and everything else in your life starts to improve. Your sleep, you know, your nutrition, your health, your internal health. It's quite profound. And yeah, just listening to your story makes me so incredibly happy. I don't know if
well, thank you. I think the last point I was gonna try and make is around, like, I think everyone has their different idea of what high performance looks like. You know, Christy, you've done your training for your shows, and you know, all credit to you for fitting that in around a job. That's amazing. For me, high performance is not necessarily about lifting the biggest weight or running the fastest half marathon or anything. It's just about showing up at work and for the kids. And you just can't do that if you're unhealthy and overweight, because you're just going to be grumpy all the time. And I think I have a huge amount more obligations than the average person with 2 young children. If we've got 2 companies with 6 entities now, I've got 20 staff as of next month. And I do have to find an inordinate amount of time outside of traditional hours, which is why getting up at 4:40 is the only way, to make sure that I've got enough time to fit everything in. But you cannot do that if you're not healthy and full of energy, and you're not looking after your diet and moderating alcohol to, you know, almost zero and all that kind of thing. And for me, that's what high performance is all about, because it's an investment in what is the long term, which eventually is to sell this business to Louis Vuitton and, you know,
exactly.
never have to work again. So that's high
really
performance, if you ask me. So Louis, do you follow the Salt Rich podcast? I don't think Louis Vuitton's a real person.
Surely they listen.
Yeah.
Well, you should be incredibly proud of your personal journey and your business journey and everything that you've done so far. It's very inspirational and very motivating. One thing we will ask to wrap the podcast up is there been anyone in your journey, whether it's your personal fitness journey or your business side of things, that's been a real inspiration, a real motivator to you, that's kind of maybe a mentor or somebody that you look up to?
There's a few of these. The first person that I'd shout out is a chap called Daryl Bradley, who is the current owner of Yachtspot. You may have heard of Yachtspot.
Daryl.
Daryl, yeah, he was. He's the guy that got me back on board yachting when I thought I was never going to do it again. He was the bosun, and he just taught me so much, not only about yachting but just about being a great person. And then he jumped ship and started Yachtspot, and obviously made a success of it, and went, you know, moved back ashore and became a dad and all the rest of it. And really, I looked up to him immensely, and partly that was, you know, one thing for me while I was still on board, being like, well, Daryl's gone off and done so well with this business, maybe I could take the plunge too. And, you know, I'm phenomenally impressed with what he's achieved. He's been great. And I have to say, my business partner Guy as well, who is a little bit older than me, but is just, I cannot really day to day appreciate enough his sort of happy-go-lucky positive attitude and how proactive he is, and just, he's always the guy that's going to pick up the phone and call you and sort something out even when the chips are down. So he's been great as well. Yeah, I think hopefully that's a good enough answer.
Absolutely, it is.
I was going to tail it with a bit of turning things back on you and saying that you guys should be incredibly proud of what you're doing with Salt Lick.
Thank you.
I think that creating the community is one thing and getting the clients and all the rest of it, but tackling crew welfare and crew well-being on board, it's quite a sensitive subject. And I think that there are a lot of entities out there trying to sort of put a flag in the ground of crew well-being and crew mental health, which is something that I can't do because I'm not qualified to. But you guys are living and breathing it every day, and you're actually making a difference from the inside with real lived experience of what it's like to be on board and what works and what doesn't. And that's a good thing to do. And I don't know what ideas you've got for the thing going forward and how big you can take it, but every minute you spend on it and every person's day you improve is amazing. So congratulations.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I think, what's so interesting? You talk about Daryl from Yacht Spot and, he inspired you and then you went and did it. And, you've probably inspired so many others. And I know that when you first came across Salt Lick and Tom and I, you mentioned to me, I don't know if you remember, that, it reminded you of you when you were in yachting and you were like, actually, I'm going to start a business and do this. And
Yeah.
it's probably why you did help us so much and take us under your wing back then.
Cool.
We've done quite a lot with Jim Marine, those that don't know. And, hopefully all of us in our own little niches can inspire other people to do the same if there's something that they're passionate in. For us, Salt Lick's never been, financially driven. We just love helping other crew members. And we're so passionate about it. And yeah, it's something that we just sit at home and talk about and do, it is our life. So hopefully we can continue to do that. But Ed, where can people find you, follow you? We want to share all of the beautiful Paragon equipment.
Yeah, well, you can follow Jim Marine and Paragon Studio on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, but you might unfollow after a while, to be honest.
That's
it sounds
true.
it sounds like I need to get some social media tips from Nat, to be honest. She's talking about her hundreds of thousands of views and all her followers and stuff. I'm like, where do I get that secret sauce?
The girl is growing, but Ed, your content has been fantastic. Especially over the last year, I am loving it.
And you and the other 10 people watching it, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
No, keep it up. Keep it up. We love watching what you're doing and supporting it. And we can't wait to see all of your beautiful equipment on many, many more vessels.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. Really appreciate it. It's been great fun.
That's a wrap on today's episode.
Stay salty, stay strong, and keep moving with purpose. See you next time.